Okay, let's go ahead and get it out of the way that I'm not going to be CNCing the guitar that we made plans for. I don't actually have a use for a superstrap body, but I do want to play with this offset. So I've got the blank, it's centered along where I know my center line is due to my plans, and also in the correct placement on the x-axis as well, in line with my plans. And then I've actually countersunk some holes into the body to allow me to screw it down to the workpiece. And we'll see more about that in the future, how this is only necessary for the one side. So I'm running what's called a ShopBot. So a lot of the things I'm going to talk about today are, well, at least the commands are specific to this machine, but the general concepts will apply. So the way that I've found the coordinates that I want my body blank to be at is I've actually milled in a grid coordinate of 1 inch increments in both the X and the Y. That's something that I've decided that I like for positioning things on my CNC. There's tons of other ways to do this, but for someone with a small CNC like this, that you won't have dedicated areas for each of the various things that you build that you can keep pretty static. This allows me to do a lot of different things very quickly, placing things on the board without really having to set up specific jigs for it. Like I said, there's a bunch of ways to do it. I'm going to be talking about my way as I find it useful for guitar building. Alright, so one of the first things that I'm going to do is I actually want to make sure that the 0 on my files actually matches the 0 location for the CNC. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to run a C3 command. And for the ShopBot, that means it's going to use the proxy switches on the X and Y to bring itself back to 0, 0. And that's going to be at the bottom left corner of the machine. Okay, so now that that's done, I know that my actual 0 coordinates, according to my file, start at the 3-8 position. So I'm going to move the machine 2 axes to the 3-8 position. I'm doing this by typing in the commands, but there's a bunch of ways to do it. I find that learning the quick commands on the keyboard does help with speed a little bit. So now that it's there, I'm actually going to 0 those 2 axes as well. And so now the machine knows that I'm at the 0, 0 location. Okay, I'm going to turn off my spindle for safety now, because I'm actually going to set the Z-axis height for this particular bit. And if I'm touching it, which I'm going to have to do, I don't want it to potentially turn on. So I'm actually going to move it forward a couple spaces. So I'm over a nice area of the body. And then specifically the ShopBot has this jig to do zeroing. Your machine may be different, but I run what's called a C2 command. It's going to run me through a couple of questions to make sure that I've attached the leads, that I've got the bit over the piece of metal, and it's going to check it twice, and then it's going to set the 0 and return to a safe height. That's it. You can also do that process manually. Not all machines come with a Z-axis zeroing tool, but having one is definitely something that will speed up your process. Alright, let's move back to our 0, 0 location. And I'm also going to turn the spindle back on. Okay, everything looks really good. So I'm actually going to go ahead and begin cutting my first file. So I'm going to select to cut apart. I'm going to select my 1/16 of an inch end mill paths for the top of the instrument. And I'm going to go ahead and start it. It's of course going to warn me, hey, are you sure you want to be turning on your spindle? I'm going to make sure that my spindle is at the correct speed and it is on. And then, okay, let's give this a watch. Alright, so what I did there is I didn't have a lot to do with this 1/16 of an inch end mill. Basically what it did is it just milled the screw holes that will be used by the tremolo system. And also I put some indicators just really quickly of where the strap buttons will go so that when this is done I just can drill them from the side and I can know exactly the angle and where they belong. For my next cuts, I'm actually going to be switching the bit, so I'm going to move this a little closer to me so that I can get to it better, especially with the camera in my way. Again, I've turned off the spindle for safety, and we're going to go ahead and swap this out for both a new bit as well as a new collet, because I'm going to be using a 1/4 inch end mill for these next operations. Alright, I'm going to make sure that I have enough of the bit sticking out that I can do the full depths that I'm looking to cut. But I also want enough in there that it's safely held. And then as per suggestion, I'm going to go ahead and just tighten it enough to where I have a decent amount of resistance. You're not trying to just crank down on these things. Alright, I'm going to have to move my Z up a bit before I move it back over the body because my bit is going to crash into this if I don't. So I'm just going to go move my Z up a tiny bit. And then I can actually move it back to the 0, 0 location. Alright, just like before, we are going to have to zero out this bit, so I'm going to move it out over the body, and I'm going to use my Z zeroing tool again. So we'll run that command. Alright, and here I'm actually going to move this Z axis up a bit again because this path is going to create a lot of dust, so I'm going to put my dust shoe on, and I actually am going to connect my dust collection unlike I did in the last run. So we probably won't be able to hear much besides that once we get going. I'm also going to illustrate that you don't have to start at your 0, 0. The way that CNC paths are written is as long as the machine knows where it is, it can get to the starting point of the path. So it knows that the starting point of my path is somewhere on this plane. It doesn't matter where it is right now. As long as it knows that this is 0, 0, 0, we're good to go. It now knows that I'm at actually 5 in the X, 1.5 in the Z, and 0 in the Y. But that doesn't matter. I can go ahead and remember to turn back on my spindle. I can cut apart my second path for a 1/4 inch end mill, and we'll go ahead and get that started. And it's going to make sure that I know that a different tool's in. It's going to ask if I've zeroed it, and of course it's going to ask if I'm ready to turn on my router, or in this case the spindle. Let's go ahead and get started. Looks like our top routes went pretty swimmingly. Everything looks good. So let's go ahead and pull it off of our board. Okay, so it's time to flip it over. And as I mentioned, I hold it down with some screws in round 1. But a lot of what's going to try and move the piece when you're cutting it is the lateral motions that the CNC is doing. Not so much anything pulling it up and out away from the spoil board. So when we flip it over, we have those index pins, and those are not only going to index its place on the spoil board so that we can accurately mill the back, but they're also going to keep keep down on any lateral movement. So really we only need to hold it down to the spoil board with a little less pressure. So I'm not actually going to go in and use screws this time. I'm going to place a number of sections of double-sided carpet tape. Specifically, I use a Sure tape, I believe, from Sureline, and it holds things down pretty well. Just as a notice, this tape and index pin, and I use just pieces of 1/4-inch aluminum that I've cut to different lengths that I got at the home goods store. This only really works if your wood as well as your spoil board is very flat. If there's any bow to either of them, your tape's not going to adhere in all the spots and it's just not going to work very well. So ensure that everything's pretty flat. But this allows me then to clear off the board to make sure that there's nothing getting in the way, and then I can line it up so that the index pins now fall into the holes on my spoil board. And I can hold it down nice and good. Since we actually didn't change the height of the workpiece, or technically the position of the workpiece, that's what our index pins are for, I don't actually have to re-zero any of the bits. I can just go back in and run my paths for this bit for the back. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to select my back 1/4-inch paths. I'm going to hook up my dust collection, and we'll go ahead and get started on that path. I like to leave the same bit in from the last pass on the top to the first pass on the back so that I'm not changing the bit as many times. Okay, the back path with the 1/4-inch end mill has finished. While I've still got the 1/4-inch collet in the machine, I've switched out to my 1/4-inch ball nose bit to do our 1/3D path. I did this because my final pass is with an 1/8-inch bit to do these 4 bolt holes, and I'm going to actually have to change out the collet to something smaller. So in the interest of time, I'm running everything with this collet first. This is our only 3D path that was output by MeshCAM, and I'm sure there's a way to input this information automatically through the system. I just haven't researched it yet, but basically MeshCAM out of the box doesn't put in the code in the file to automatically turn on the spindle when you start the path. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and manually turn on the ShopBot's output number 1, and that's going to say anytime you run a path, go ahead and start the spindle automatically. So we're ready to run this belly carve now. the belly carve has been finished. I swapped out the bit and put in the 1/8 inch bit to do my bolt holes. And so we are actually done with milling. The only thing left to do is pull it off the machine, cut the tabs off, which I'll show you how they turned out in a second, and then finish up with hand tools. This base wood is pretty stringy. You can see that it's pretty rough over here on the upcut. I probably could change my feeds and speeds here a bit to optimize it for this wood to make this a little cleaner of a 3D cut, but I'm going to be doing a little hand work on that with a file and sandpaper anyways, so I'm not too concerned with it. Obviously, before you cut the body tabs off to separate it from the outside parts where your index pins are, be dang sure that you are done on the CNC, because once you remove these two parts from one another, indexing it back is going to be very difficult. Here's an example of one of those tabs so that you can see what they're like in the end. So they are still connecting the body to the outside in 4 places, and it allows me to keep the index pins so I can place things. But I'm going to go ahead and cut those now and show you all the final result. Alright, so there you have it. We are done with this project as far as computers and CNC are concerned. Looks pretty good. It's ready to do some sanding, and then I'll run a roundover bit around the edges. Obviously I could have done the roundover on the CNC as well using MeshCAM, however that would have been a lot slower than simply using a roundover bit on my router table, so why complicate things if they don't need to be complicated. Hopefully this demystifies hobby-sized CNC machines for you and gets you on the road to success.